Hello, everybody. My name is Tyler Adolfo. I am 26 years old, and I have a diagnosis of bipolar type 1 with psychotic features. Thank you for stopping by the channel. I hope that you're all having a wonderful day. In one of my recent videos, I talked about how I lost all my friends due to bipolar disorder. In this video, I will talk about loneliness and why I've socially isolated since being diagnosed with bipolar disorder and since coming out of my major manic episode. Bipolar disorder is very much a roller coaster of emotions, and very few people can understand the mood fluctuations and the severity of those mood fluctuations that come with having bipolar disorder. And so in this video, I'm going to talk about something that we can all relate to, though, and that's loneliness. You don't have to have bipolar disorder to know what it's like to be alone, but I'm going to talk about loneliness in the context of its relationship with my bipolar disorder and consequences I've had as a result of bipolar disorder. So the first thing to know about me is that before I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I had a ton of friends. I was on the mock trial team my freshman year of college. I was a member of the student government as a student senator. I was in a college social fraternity, one of the fraternities that party. Lots of fun. I miss it every day. Some elements of it, anyways. But I had a lot of friends. I had large social circles, and I always had somebody to go to if there was something on my mind that I needed to vent about or discuss. If I wanted someone to go have lunch with, there was someone to go have lunch with. Someone to go to the gym with, there was someone to go to the gym with. But during my manic episode, I burned a lot of bridges. And I suppose that's the natural consequence of accusing people of being Nazis, because during my manic episode, I was suffering delusions and hallucinations of such a severe degree that I actually went about really causing complete pandemonium in all my relationships. I thought that people who had been my friends for years were Nazis, and I accused them of such. I lashed out at them online. I lashed out at them in person. And that really sabotaged a lot of my relationships because people had never seen me in that state of mind before. And I don't think anybody knew that I had bipolar disorder either. So that certainly contributed. Maybe if they knew, things would have been a little different. But the point being, I had a ton of friends, but burned a lot of bridges during mania. And so where does that bring me today? Well, today, I have a whole lot of new perspectives on friendships to begin with. That's for one. And I don't suspect that will change anytime soon, but nothing is immutable. Everything is subject to change. It's possible that the way that I'm viewing the world now could someday change and be different for the future. But as of right now, this is the way that I view the world. And one of the things is that close relationships terrify me now. I am afraid of forming close relationships. I don't know if I want anything more than acquaintances right now, with the exception of my family, who I would regard as close friends in some sense, my cousins and so forth. But I don't know if I have the commitment and the energy to form a close relationship, and I don't want to go through that experience again of losing close friends, because during mania, I lost so many of my close friends. And the hardship and sorrow that follows is something that I just don't want to have transpire once again. I don't know if I have the capability of pushing through it once more. Another thing that comes to mind is, since being alone, these last 2 years I've been in largely social isolation, closing myself off to the world. And something that comes to mind is that communication in general is a two-way street. So it's very true that I could have reached out to these people that I was once connected with to see how they're doing and ask them how things have been. But it's also very true that they could have done the same for me and reached out to me and asked how I've been and asked how I'm doing. But that hasn't happened. on either side. I actually have tried to reach out to some people who witnessed my ordeal, that gut-wrenching ordeal, that heart-wrenching ordeal of me and my manic episode, and I've reached out with the hopes of being able to explain to them what was going on in myself mentally, and that that's not representative of who I really am as a person. But I haven't had much success in people responding back, unfortunately. And that has contributed to me not wanting to reach out to any more people, because I don't want to be further disappointed with more people not wanting to get in touch. But the only relationships I've really restored are, one is a pastor from a church that I've been going to since high school. I've been there for many years, and I reached out to him and explained why I had these behaviors that I did, why I said the things I did, and he forgave me, and I'm grateful for that. And I also reached out to my advanced placement English teacher and former speech coach and explained to her things that were going on and how I was feeling mentally at the time. And she was also very understanding. So I've had success with two different people on the front of restoring relationships, and that alleviated a lot of stress for me. But again, why haven't I reached out to more? I have, and they just haven't responded back. And at the end of the day, communication is a two-way street. They could also reach me. And that's just how I see it. The next thing, something that I've actually known for a long time, not since just being diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but I can certainly emphasize how true it is now since being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And that is, happiness and loneliness are not mutually exclusive. You can have both. You don't have to have lots of people in your life in order to be happy. Could it be beneficial? Sure. Having $1 million could be beneficial. Having a nicer car could be beneficial. Being a member of a club could be beneficial. But none of these things are a necessity, a prerequisite for higher levels of happiness. I've been happy before while being alone. Were there times of despair and sorrow? Of course there were. But there were also good times where I felt good about myself. Like right now, these past few weeks, I'm just as alone now as I was during the rest of my depressive episode. And yet, I've been going to the gym more, I've been going outside more, I've been reading more, I've been talking to family more and venting about how I feel more to my therapist. And these are all positive things. They sound like small steps, but they're really monumental, huge steps for me, based off where I had been before. And so the next thing that comes to mind when it comes to loneliness is, it's an old saying, seasons come and go. And if you've ever heard that expression, you've probably heard it applied in all kinds of circumstances. I'm applying it in this circumstance because I think loneliness is very much similar and is the epitome of how seasons come and go. Just because I'm lonely now, it doesn't mean I will be 5 months from now, 5 years from now, 5 decades from now. A lot can change, 5 months from now, I might be part of a new club or organization. 5 years from now, I might be working a job full time again and have my degree. 5 decades from now, I might be a grandfather and have children and grandchildren around to keep me company. So a lot can change. The current season I'm in, and I'm not talking about seasons like a television season, although I guess that analogy would work perfectly fine as well. I'm talking about seasons as in like the weather, winter come and goes, spring come and goes, fall come and goes. And the next season will always come around. So my current season is one of depression, and where I'm focusing on myself and trying to find balance again in my life. But at some point again in the future, I'm highly confident that I will have friends again. And hopefully I'll put more stake in the type of relationships that I develop, so that the type of people that I associate with are the type who would be more open and understanding and receptive to bipolar disorder and mental illness in general. We need more of that type of empathy overall. But I think that we can also, those of us who are mentally ill, make a solid effort to make sure that we're trying to bring people into our lives who hold those views already, instead of having to go through the effort of forcing those views onto others, which can be incredibly stressful. And the last reason why I would say that I'm lonely is, I've said it before, bipolar disorder is a full-time job. And I'll add to that, bipolar disorder is exhausting enough. Dealing with constant mood fluctuations, that roller coaster of emotional change, is already so mentally draining that I just don't know if I have the ability within myself to form the type of close relationships I'd like to have again someday. Today is just not the right opportunity. But at a later point, absolutely. When my bipolar disorder is more under control, when I'm truly stable, when I have balance, when I'm working again, when I perhaps return to get my education completed because I'm so close to doing so, then those are all excellent opportunities to step back into the friendship arena and try to get friends again. But for now, my best friend is loneliness, myself. So that's all I got for today's video, y'all. I kept it a little short for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Those are just my thoughts on loneliness since being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. Everybody, please hit that like button down below. Kick it, punch it, do whatever you need to do to the like button so that more people can see this video. I would greatly appreciate it. But with that being said, I hope that you all have an extraordinarily excellent day. Peace out, y'all.